Welcome to Break Free to Brilliance podcast, empowering women in business through thought provoking interviews and insights. Embrace your authentic power, explore the impact of your story, and discover how writing your best selling book can amplify your message, authority, and the three I's: impact, influence, and income. Let each episode guide you towards brilliance in minutes. This is your host, Seema Giri. She comes. Hi, Theresa.
Hi, Seema. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well. Man, thank you, Shaya. That was awesome.
Wasn't that awesome? Yes. So, Teresa, is Teresa, you're doing so many amazing things and helping women grow and take, their next steps. And you have an amazing journey that we had a great opportunity to learn. And Teresa is an amazing TEDx speaker. I've watched her video several times on YouTube, so we'll make sure to share that with you as well. Teresa, let's get started with tell us about your story. How did you, what is your story? What is your background? How did you get started with the success that you have in your business today?
Well, and here's the thing. So we're talking about creating a story or leveraging your story, right? Well, what I did not expect was when I shared my story, and everything Seema is teaching is like right on. People, take notes, listen, because when I did my TEDx talk, I did not expect the response that it got. And I will share that in a second. But because it was heartfelt, it was everything I ever needed people to know. The response was like my heart went out, the coherence, the waves, whatever you believe in. And Ariana Huffington, excuse me, wrote an article about my TED Talk when it came out, my TEDx talk. I did not expect that. That is not something you can plan for. You might be able to put it on a vision board. So here I am. I deliver my TEDx. I'm super happy. It's all about my story of having a car accident, being a professional martial artist, and then having a car accident and a brain injury. So, any of you who are functioning with neurodivergence or ADHD or PTSD or anxiety, man, I got you. I get it. I have so been there. And the idea that I got to share all that like out loud on a big platform, it was so frightening. Seema, I'm not going to lie. It was like, oh man, I'm going to be so vulnerable. But I
Yeah.
was. What happened? Ariana Huffington liked it so much that her magazine wrote an article about it. She tweeted about my talk. I actually have a quote of the tweet. And then Thrive Global voted it top 10 most meaningful TED Talks.
Mm.
I did not, that was not something I was prepared for. Again, it was my story going where my story needed to go. And that's something each of us have. We all have a story that someone needs to hear, even if it's like, oh God, I don't want to share that part, or I'm embarrassed, or I'm thinking, oh, I don't know. And then, and then TED.com picked it up. TED.com will look around and find particular TEDx talks that they think exemplify the values of TED. And I'm gonna cry. They put my talk, my story on TED.com. And again, it's not something you can petition for. It's not something you can ask anybody for. It's just that's the miracle of sharing your story. And
Yeah.
that's what happens. And now my TED Talk is over 500,000 views.
What could that do for your business?
Yes. And when you guys get your TEDx's done, tell me, share your links with me because I'll share your talks too.
Yeah. And that's such a great testament to sharing your story. Thank you so much for sharing that. We are afraid of being vulnerable because we're afraid of being judged. But at the same time, there's always going to be someone who's not going to like you and who's not going to like your story and has something to say. But don't let that deter the group that really needs to hear your message. I mean, you were really vulnerable, Teresa, and the way you shared was just so amazing and heart touching. And that's what people want. People want to know. People are going through their difficulties and their challenges, and they need to know it's okay because you're human. You're going to have that, and you get to react as a human too.
Well, think
You
about all the
know?
corporate environments that we don't get to be human. And I
Yes,
do a lot of speaking at women's workshops, and we're still trying to have it all, pretend we have it all together. And I walk out on stage and I'm like, I'm human. Let me just tell you the 4 things I've done so far today that prove my humanness. Um,
exactly.
I'm a
Yeah.
dork. I'm geeky. I'm quirky. We all are.
And that's what makes you beautiful.
And that's what makes you beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what you, our listeners, dear listeners, audience members, that's what makes you beautiful. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for you to be perfectly imperfect in your own right, because you're perfect just the way you are. And that's the message. If you don't get anything at all today and you get this, then I think Teresa and I would both feel that we have done what we came for.
Big universal check mark. We made a difference for one soul who got that they
Yes,
are
exactly.
exactly who they are and perfect.
Exactly. And it's so amazing that so many of us are trying to give this message in our own way. It's so needed, especially for women. I mean, I feel like in my family, I am breaking the patterns, the generation patterns by doing things that I want to do, by moving forward and healing, not only breaking the pattern, but also healing the past generations of women who were not able to stand up for themselves the way I am, for not taking control of their life for the way I am because of, various factors. But that's the whole intention that you want for the next generation, right? I feel like I'm going to have tears coming out. Thanks, Teresa.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming. Well, and think of it like all of the women in our lineage, all of the people, there are men on here
Yeah,
too, all of the people in our lineage who didn't have the opportunities that we have, who couldn't say, this is okay and what I want, or this isn't okay. I'm the first woman to graduate from college in
yeah,
my family. And I was also the first entrepreneur, and people thought I was nuts.
yeah.
I had to do my thing. But, hearts go out to all of bless and love and send light to all those versions of our DNA that didn't get to do this.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yes. And that's the whole point. And that's why having your own business and having your version of having it all is so important. Because
Mm,
I used to think it was an or, because that's how we were raised. It's this
this
or
or
this.
that,
And now it's like, no, I'm going to change this and I'm going to make it this and this. Because why not? Who's to tell me? I mean, we're talking about innovation.
right?
This drives me crazy, Teresa. We talk about innovation. We're doing innovation in technology and medicine and everything, but we're not doing innovation of women can have it all. Why not?
Right. And a friend of mine used to say, I believe in an and universe.
Yes.
I need to
Yeah.
I need to get that as a t-shirt, people. I
Yes.
it's an
Yes.
and universe. It's not or.
So when did you realize that you could have it all?
I think it's a daily choice. I think there's I can't say the name correctly, Anais Nin saying there came a day when she realized staying small wasn't an option. And when you start to realize what it costs you not to share, not to stand up, one of my big things is teaching about boundaries. How we make ourselves happy, it sounds so weird, is by setting boundaries. And when you finally realize you can set boundaries, that you are worthy of setting boundaries, even self-care boundaries. It's not just a no. It can be a, you know what? I need to take some time off for me. I need to do a thing for me.
Yeah.
That in itself, when you realize the cost of not doing that, I was overwhelmed. I was overworked. I was working 90 plus hours a week. I did not know how to slow down. I'm from a family where we just, truck along and work hard and you just work harder and you never sit back on your laurels. And I don't even know what a laurel is, but you don't sit back on them. You just keep going. And I didn't know how to sit back. I didn't know how to celebrate the small or the big wins.
Yes.
And I started realizing, wow, hey man, I can actually say I did a thing. And I have groups of friends now who we text each other, I did a hard thing. And that is literally the text, I did a hard thing. Because
Yeah.
no one else is going, yeah, look at you setting boundaries, taking care of yourself and taking care of business. So
Yeah.
for me, I think it's an ongoing process. Great question, but always.
Yeah.
It's
No,
competitive.
I think that's a great answer too, that we get to choose that every day, you know. And one day if you mess up, it's okay. You can get back on and choose it again. So that's wonderful to say that's it's a daily choice. It doesn't have to be imbibed 100% because that's going to take a long time to do, and then we feel like okay, it's just unachievable.
Exactly. And being able to choose you. Oh, I have a thing. I have a thing. I have a
Yes.
thing. Okay. You ready? Seema's laughing because we've had a conversation prior to this, and she's like, "Man, your energy, y'all, this is real. I don't even caffeinate anymore. This is all because I love you people, and I want to make that difference." Self-care isn't items on a list. It is choosing yourself now. What do I need now?
Yes.
What do I need next? It, you start listing like, I got to get massages. I got to get this. I got to take care of that. It is, what is your need? What do you need right now? How do you have your back? I'm actually training for my seventh black belt, but, and how do you have your own back? Here's a professional martial artist telling you, having your own back looks like, what do I need right now?
Mm,
What would fill my soul right now? And how can I get further in my goals, whatever those goals are?
that's beautiful. You can ask that several times during the day. What do I need right now?
And I
And
forget.
give yourself that.
You know what? I need a little water. So I'm going
Yeah.
to do that,
Yeah.
people.
I'm going to join you.
Everybody, did you know by the time we actually feel thirsty, most likely we're dehydrated?
Yes.
I thought that was an interesting statistic
Yeah.
because our bodies just need that water as often as we can.
That's true. That's true. So you have to continuously take small sips throughout the day before you feel that thirst.
Another t-shirt, small
Another
sips,
yes.
small steps. Like
Well,
this. I'm
one of the
loving this
things,
summit.
another thing that we have in common is just living in different countries and Germany. And I think that's when we both felt we had the time of our lives at that young age and that we could really truly be ourselves.
Mm.
What do you think changes from having that childhood certainty and belief of who we are to as we grow up and then when we're in business?
There's a saying I love. A friend of mine came up with it. We spend the first 18 years of our life trying to fit in, and the next parts of our life trying to figure out how we stand out. So
Yes.
when you grow up in a different country, and I grew up in Germany. I didn't move to the States. We call it the States until I was in third grade, fourth grade, one of those two. And Seema had shared that she was from another country as well. And there's a different level of interaction in other countries. And when I got to the States, fitting in, let me just tell you the side story. I had mentioned this. I did not fit in. I was this energetic, kid who didn't know how to play the games that other kids were playing. I didn't know how to mean girl. I didn't know how to deal with the first time I defended someone else against a bully was fourth grade. I stood up in front of someone else because they were picking on another kid, and I was like, "That's not okay." Know how to defend somebody. I didn't know it, but I just knew in my heart it wasn't all right. But being able to know that fitting in doesn't work is hard as a kid. You get bullied, you get made
Mhm.
fun of, you get poked at, and you don't have that wherewithal to stand on your own and go, I don't care. A couple years ago, I reconnected with a friend from high school, and he said, "You know what? It's great that you didn't fit in. The people that you didn't fit in with, they weren't kind, they weren't nice like you. They didn't
Yeah.
have that same level of energy." And that was like a, psh,
Exactly. And then we get into business and they say, what is your unique USP? How do you stand out? And it becomes like almost a paradigm shift, right? When you're in business, because you have to do all of those things.
mm,
So for those who are having trouble, Teresa, switching that,
mm.
what advice would you give them? What tip would you give them to really embrace who they are and show up that way?
First tip that I would say is so I've done a lot of TV, and I was in a movie. I can't say movies because I was only in one. And every time you mess up in a movie, it's not called a mistake, it's a missed take.
Ah,
So you learn, you adjust, you shift, and then you do it again. So every time we berate ourselves for a mistake, learn from it, grow from it. And just as Shay was saying, don't make it about you. Don't make it about what's wrong with me, because then that's where the inner bully, and that's my TED talk, that's when the inner bully starts in on you. What's wrong with you? I'll tell you all the things wrong with you. Let me start a list. Wait, I've got diagrams and pie charts of all of the things you've ever messed up on in your life. So looking at a mistake differently allows us some freedom and some self-acceptance. The second part, I would say, is we each have a variability in quirks. I don't call them weaknesses anymore.
Yeah.
There's, the strength finder, and it's like strength finders and then your weaknesses. I'm like, they're just quirks, things that make you you. Because guess
Yeah.
what? I don't want to, that's how your quirk, Seema and I are talking, and I'm like, I'm off the charts extrovert until I'm not. Seema's like, I'm more of an introvert. And I'm like, but I love that about her. I love that about you, and that you know that. I love that you know yourself, and owning your quirks, people, that you need to do. Every single one of us needs to go, I'm quirky because, I'm quirky because, I'm quirky
Yeah.
because. Stop thinking of them as mistakes and weaknesses.
Exactly. Yes. That's, just get rid of those categories. That's what I'm saying. Just get rid
Sure.
of those categories. Done. So, as you've been running your business,
Mm.
what were some of the best decisions you've made and worst decisions you've made, and why were they the best and the worst?
The best decision I made. So I've run a couple businesses, but I would say I founded a martial arts and fitness studio, and the best decision I made in it was hire somebody else to do the things that I literally suck at. Part of my quirks, right?
Mm.
Because whenever people would come to me and say, "Hey, it's a tough month. Do I have to pay my tuition?" I'd be like, "No, I totally understand." And my employees are like, "You can't keep doing that." So I hired people to do what I couldn't do. I hired people to set my schedule for me. So, and I hired people to have financial conversations because I was going to give it. I'm much better now, but I was always I erred on the side of compassion versus bottom lining it, which helped me grow to a multi-million dollar business. But hire people to do the things that A, you don't like doing, and B, you might not be that great at. That's probably one of the biggest opportunities for all of us, is that even if, so think about it, if you hire a VA, you have them do things that even though you're paying them, your return on your time investment, multiple fold. If you make me file paperwork, I will not have the energy to create all the exciting programs that I have, because I'll have spent all that energy filing paperwork, which for me is like timeout.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense too, right? Because you get to focus on your passion, focus on what you're great at, and let other people focus on what they're great at. Yeah, yeah. And when starting out, when you're the one who's doing everything and people come, I was the same way, Teresa. But it's like, you're because you want to impact people and you want people to like you, you want your clients to like you. But there is a fine line for that. They can still like you. And I think they appreciate when you put the boundary, you can work with them, but can't give away the farm, right? 'Cause where are you going to live?
Yeah, you can't. And I was just always a sucker. Or people would just constantly want to schedule with me, and my staff is like, you know what? Let's have these as your office hours. Let's have people, because they would line up after classes just to do sessions with me because I was coaching and teaching.
Hmm. So you said you have multiple businesses,
I have.
right? Some of us have one business and we're like, okay, we are running out of time, and you're running multiple businesses. What is your best advice on managing multiple businesses?
All right, this is going to sound so simple, and by simple I don't mean it's easy. There's an umbrella. There's an umbrella construct over everything that you do. So
Mm.
my organization, my program, my everything is called Empower. What falls under that? Boundaries coaching, mindset coaching, rewiring your brain programs, because it's all about your own empower. Self-defense classes. I love teaching self-defense. I teach kickboxing one day a week live, and a couple days a week on Zoom. It's also for me. Like, they all fall under one umbrella. So don't think of them as this and that and this and that. So I speak at conferences, I coach, I write books. I've written 5 books, actually 6. You know what? I've collaborated in a couple more, but they're all under this one umbrella. And that helps our brain with a target. Everything for me is about inner power and
Mm.
letting it out. And I call it in power because it's that innate, inherent inner power that each of us have. And that's what I'm here to teach about, to share and to coach on.
Oh, that's great. That's beautiful. Teresa, if there was one thing that you could share with the women who are either, regardless of what stage of business they're in, what would that be? What would you want them to know?
Be able to understand, to me, any self-development program, anything that we do, you have to handle one thing first. We have to deal with that inner voice. You could spend tens, 20s of thousands of dollars, many thousands of dollars trying to fix something or get the new shiny widget or get new tech, because y'all, in this world, there's so many pieces of tech that you can just shiny thing, shiny thing, shiny thing. But the first thing we have to get handled is this.
Yes.
Know who you are, and know that whatever's stopping you. So each of us have goals and ways of getting success. And then whenever we set a big goal, there's sabotage. To be able to stop that sabotage, we have to know who we are and what that voice is telling us. Because otherwise, we're trying to fix a bunch of stuff when really it's in here that we need to start with. And I've been there. I bought this program and that program and thought that that was going to help my business. And really, I needed to deal with this first. And once you get that handled, all the externals, they start to take care of themselves. Things make sense.
That is so true, Teresa. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really powerful. If this is resonating with you, let us know by sharing some emojis. What is the insight that you're getting? And yes, they're coming through. Wow. And this has been a theme throughout today's session, is that you got to work on your inner voice and listen to your intuition. It doesn't matter what anyone else is going to think, because it's not their life. It's about you. And when you start listening to that, your inner voice, and start working on your mindset and those negative thoughts that come through, those negative words, the negative talk that's happening, your life will become so much more powerful. You will become so much more powerful. You'll be living what you want, and that's going to impact everyone around you.
Oh, I have the best saying. I just came up with it last week, so I'm going to share it.
Yes.
And if you can't tell, I'm like a little kid. I get excited. We're talking about passion, right? Well, guess what? This is passion. This is what passion looks
Yes.
like. So, being able to understand that resistance is the antithesis to receiving. What you resist stops you from receiving. And
Yes.
if in here you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm stupid, or that was stupid, or I shouldn't do that. If we are doing that in our head game, and sometimes it's insidious, people, you can't hear it. The difference is when you start to out it, you can then start dealing with it. You can then start doing something about it. And then stop the resistance so you can just let the marvelous universe show up for you. You can just let miracles happen. Seema's a
Yes.
miracle. I did not see. You reached out to me. I am so honored and grateful.
Yes.
This is freaking great. This is a masterclass in everything you need to know about running your business.
Exactly. No, thank you for that. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Break Free to Brilliance podcast. And I hope you had some key takeaways that you can implement right away. Be sure to subscribe to Break Free to Brilliance wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow along with us on social media using the links in the show notes below. We'll see you again for the next episode.